Standing at the edge of the ocean, watching the waves come and go, seems a little like breathing, doesn't it? The salt in the air, the crash of the waves, the vastness stretching out to the horizon. You feel small, yet somehow infinite. The sun dips low, painting the sky in streaks of gold and violet, and for a moment everything else fades away. It's beautiful. But it also stirs something deep inside us, a quiet awareness of how small we are, how fleeting our time is. And then the thought creeps in. What happens when it all stops? It's unsettling, isn't it? That question. Maybe it hits you in those fragile moments, standing in a hospital room, the hum of machines fading, or at a funeral, the words of a eulogy hanging in the air. And sometimes it comes without warning. A sudden thought, like a cold gust through a cracked window. Is that really it? We build our days as if they'll last forever. Routines, plans, dreams. But somewhere in the shadows of our minds we know one day it ends. Some say death is the final chapter, while others believe it's merely a door, a gateway to something beyond what we can see. And sometimes in those quiet moments, it almost feels like we're brushing against something we can't explain. But what does science say? And what about spirituality? Let's explore both sides. When the heart stops beating and the brain runs out of oxygen, the body begins to shut down. Clinically, this is death. But modern medicine has complicated the definition. There are cases of people who were declared dead, no heartbeat, no brain activity, yet returned often with vivid recollections of what they experienced. Researchers call these near-death experiences, or NDEs, bright lights, tunnels, an overwhelming sense of peace. Some report seeing deceased loved ones. Others describe an out-of-body perspective, watching doctors work desperately to revive them. Science, of course, explains these phenomena as the brain firing its last signals, like a dream, they say, induced by a lack of oxygen. But does that explanation feel complete? I once spoke with a man who survived a cardiac arrest. He described seeing his childhood home, feeling a warmth he couldn't explain. He said there was no fear, just love. When he woke up in the hospital, he said it was like being pulled away from something beautiful. Science might call this hallucination, but David, he called it a glimpse of the afterlife. For thousands of years, cultures around the world have offered their own views. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the soul is believed to undergo rebirth, a cycle of life, death, and reincarnation. In Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, death is often seen as a passage to an eternal afterlife. Each tradition speaks of a continuation, a meaning that transcends the final heartbeat. And then there are the stories, not just from the ancient texts, but from everyday people. People often say they feel the presence of their loved ones after they've passed. A whisper of a familiar scent, an unexplained flicker of light, or even a vivid dream that feels like more than just a memory. Skeptics might call it the mind's way of coping, but others believe it's something more. And then there's the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which describes the process of consciousness transitioning after death. According to Tibetan beliefs, the soul navigates a series of visions and experiences before reaching its next form. Could this be a metaphor, or perhaps a truth we can't yet comprehend? Maybe the truth is, we don't have to choose. Science seeks understanding through evidence. Spirituality embraces the unseen, but both are driven by the same yearning to understand what happens when our time here ends, and what about the nature of time itself. Some physicists suggest that time might be an illusion, a construct of our minds. In that case, could death simply be a shift in perspective, a movement to another state of existence? What if death isn't something to fear, but a reminder to live, to cherish the fleeting moments we have? Because whether you believe in eternal life, reincarnation, or simply the legacy we leave behind, one truth remains: our impact lingers. The love we give, the memories we share, that's how we live on. Maybe when our bodies fail, what remains is the energy we've given the world. Some call it the soul. Others see it as a ripple in the universe's grand tapestry. But one thing is certain: none of us are truly alone in our questions, and perhaps the mystery itself is a gift. So, what do you believe happens after we die? Maybe you've had your own experience or a story passed down through generations. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if this made you think, even for a moment, consider subscribing. There are so many more questions worth exploring.